Okay, I'll call the Brandon Select Board to order for the June agenda. Is there any additions or changes to be made to the agenda as it was presented?
No.
If not, all in favor of the agenda, say aye.
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 That was unanimous.
Who made the motion?
No.
I'll make it.
Tracy Wyman makes the motion. Can anybody give a second?
Sure, I will.
Brian Coolidge gives a second. Thank you, fellas. I'm sorry about that. I guess I'm a little out of practice. Item 2, approval of the minutes. What's the pleasure of the board? The minutes of May 25th for the select board and for the hearing about the library grant.
I'll make a motion to approve both of them.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Coolidge and a second by Mr. Wyman. Any errors or omissions in the minutes as they were presented? If not, all in favor of adopting those minutes, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That's unanimous. Item 3, the town manager's report. Mr. Atherton.
This is my report for the weeks of May 25th and June 1st. Segment 6, we completed a sidewalk inspection to determine where the repairs will take place. They should be starting the repairs this week. We have another meeting tomorrow afternoon with the concrete, the company that did the sidewalk work, the Freeguard, just to go over a little more of it. And we got some cleanup and pre-punch list items we've been taking care of. We did come up with about 10,000 feet of sidewalk that needs to be repaired, so there's a bit there. So we'll see what we come up with tomorrow. So when I wrote this, I was waiting for approval for the bridge slab repair. We tossed some change orders around a little bit today, and V-Trans is happy with the one we sent. They just haven't approved it yet. So hopefully by the end of the week we should get a yay on the bridge slab to get that started, which would be really good. We'll get it started in July. Park Street sewer services are now currently being connected. The new sewer main line is actually all in. They backfilled the last portion of it today. And I think they have 9 services left to connect. So they should be moved on to water by next week. They're really happy with the progress they've made. They're a little bit ahead of schedule, so that's nice. That project's going really well. Other happenings, the Churchill Road culvert replacement project will start on June 15th, and this should be completed by the end of the month. We had a meeting up there last week. The big thing is camp's trying to figure out how to get their crane down there without too much problem, because as we know, it's narrow and difficult. So hopefully that works out well. I was informed by Hazard Mitigation that the additional 25% match for the latest property, that 389 Newton Road, will be available. We did have 2 that backed out, so they decided to move some of that money over to this one, so that those folks will get 100% on that, which is good. Met with Cummings Electric to discuss installation of the electric vehicle charging stations down here behind the mobile station. We're anticipating doing it late summer. And Sean and I have been discussing the possibility of them working, the highway department actually doing a lot of the in-kind work for the parking area, because we can use in-kind to match our grant obligation. So, you know, those guys are definitely capable of doing it, and we're going to see how that works out. They could certainly do a lot of site work and work with, you know, the electrical contractor for getting stuff ready for running underground and everything. So. I hope we can do it that way. It'd be nice. Rec department news. Brandon Rec Department's moving out of phase 1 of the COVID response and into phase 2. Most online activities in which we have been engaging the community with Facebook bingo, Zoom trivia, paint and sip via Facebook are all ending. We will continue to promote our painting project. We'll host another online fishing derby, and our newest patriotic planting pot painting activity is sure to be a hit. We are cautiously moving towards hosting some in-person activities of out of doors. Plans include to resume our summer cornhole league, youth baseball, golf, basketball, and cheerleading clinics. we'll likely be having a drive-in concert for our Brandon Idol at either Estabrook or at Wyman's Campground, which is apparently recent development. And Colleen and I are working tirelessly to come up with safe and creative ways to deliver programming to our community. And that's what I have.
That is a great report, Mr. Atherton, especially about the in-kind work for the grant for the electric and the parking, and some progress with V-Trans and so forth. Great job. Is there anything from the board related to Mr. Atherton's report? Mr. Giles, anything?
No.
Mr. Wyman?
Nothing.
Doug Bailey, are you there?
Yeah, well, I'm here, yes.
Any questions,
one-
Dave?
Yeah, one question, it's just following back to the last meeting, and that we were gonna be looking for funds in the budget to go forward with buying the DPW building or whatever. I was wondering if we found any funds.
So Sue and I have spoke briefly on this. We are at the next meeting going to do our encumbrances for the year end. So we've got it. We can, show it out more at the next meeting on where we're going to pull it from.
I'm looking at the financials. So our buildings and grounds budget is going to come in about 40K under budget. So it could fit in there.
Is the overall budget coming in under budget? Predicted at this point?
Some area, yeah, mostly. I got to do a little work. I want to look a little closer at highway because that's a little confusing. I got to do a little more in-depth work there because we paid off a lease, so the leases are over. Expenditures, and then there's some road paving too that's over. So I got to take a closer look at that.
Our road paving would be over because we had the class 2 money come in. So that was
right.
And yeah, I mean, we cut it close with some stuff on highway this year. Why we boosted up our salt and sand for winter, because salt's killing us the last 2 years. It's just so difficult to predict. So
right.
Yeah, and it's not cheap. So
no.
So have we ordered that building yet?
Actually, Sean and I have called and left messages twice for the guy because we got to get on his schedule. It won't be till late summer anyway before he can even get down here to do it. So we've got a little leeway, which is good.
Anything else, Mr. Bailey?
No.
How about Mr. Coolidge?
Nope, all set, thank you.
Okay, members of the public, questions for the town manager. Anyone else who's on the call tonight? Barry Varian.
David, I have a question, and it's really a question, not a criticism. But the garden spaces downtown, has anyone really been contracted or given the responsibility of keeping those up and weeded and, nice looking? I think the weeds are starting to take over in those nice areas, as well as a lot of the green spaces where they really weren't seeded adequately, are looking kind of shabby. So my real question is, have we contracted with anyone to maintain that, or are we going to do that ourselves?
So we're gonna do all the mowing in-house, and like in front of the town hall, it drives me crazy. It's just the weeds took off this last weekend. So we do have a buildings and grounds guy that's gonna keep up with the majority of that. I have talked to one of the business owners down here who takes care of quite a few of the plantings and stuff downtown, and trying to persuade her to do a little more because she does a phenomenal job. So after looking at what we've got now, I think this first year is going to be tough because things aren't filling in, and some of these flower beds, I question why they planted grass in them last year and then rototilled it up and put plants in, and now the grass is poking through. So I think next year, once we see things start to fill out a little bit, we can, you know, we won't have to use as much mulch because things will be getting fuller and it'll just, the plants will start to take over. So, but yeah, I mean, it's the first year with all this stuff, so we've got to come up with a little tighter plan.
Dave, I just got kicked off the video, so did Barry ask a question?
Yes,
I missed that whole thing, because I had to read that.
I can say it word for word again.
You
We also have
can
it
tell me
recorded,
what
too.
the conversation was if you want.
Right. Actually, it's recording on Zoom too, so we can give you the recording. But Barry asked what if we had someone that was going to work on like the plantings and stuff downtown, because a lot of weeds are taking over and things. So we don't really. The short story is we don't really have a fine-tuned plan in place yet. So we're hoping to.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Charlene. Other questions for the town manager from the public? Bernie Carr.
Dave, is the West Seminary project going to impact Route 7, do you think, very much? Have they indicated that at all?
If it does, it'll be quick. You know, if they're unloading materials or whatever, there shouldn't be that many traffic stops there. It'd just be one lane on West Seminary going up the hill. So, and there might be some times where West Seminary's, you know, blocked off down here, but yeah, it's going to be short for Route 7.
Okay, good.
Thanks, Mr. Carr. Mr. Atherton. Other questions for the town manager? If not, we'll move along. We can always have public comment at any other agenda item during the meeting. So item 4 is for public comment and participation. This would be items not on the agenda. We generally start with the select board. I would like to acknowledge that Brandon's representative to the BLSG Insect Control District, Wayne Rausenberger, has resigned the position. And I would like to thank Wayne for many years of service to the town and to the whole greater Brandon community in terms of the mosquito district. He's been knowledgeable about the funding, and he's always been ready to answer questions, and the town appreciates his service. And we do now have an opening. We have Richard Russ is another Brandon representative to the BLSG. So we have another spot open for Brandon representation on the BLSG. And if anyone's interested, they could contact the town manager. Could Mr. Coolidge, anything that's not on the agenda tonight?
Nope, all set.
How about Mr. Bailey?
Wait 1 second.
Okay.
I do have one. Was wondering on feedback regarding the use of the downtown sidewalks and tables, et cetera, out on the sidewalks. Has there been much comment on sidewalk use, and where are we on that as far as putting picnic tables that belong to the town out?
Nope, nothing at all. I mean, Maze put their own picnic table out. We're just painting some of ours up to put out. So, we haven't got them out there yet. So, nope, nobody's complained about it or anything. We don't have a lot of restaurants that are open right now. So, well, on the sidewalk, you know, cafe's got the top, and they're using our green space up there, you know, above the sidewalk. So, no, it's been all right so far.
Do we have a policy on how these will be used, or we're just going with it? I'm just curious for my own knowledge.
We were just going to do picnic tables just as kind of a courtesy for some folks to sit, not that it would be specific to any one restaurant. They'd be on town property and town picnic tables. We were going to put them between like the tree grates so they'd be spaced out anyway. People can't drink out there. You know, we still have an ordinance for open containers. So, and yeah, I mean, they could take out food and eat out there. And that's really all it is right now. Be no different than a park bench at this point.
And the restaurants won't be waiting on the tables outside or things like that?
I have no idea what they do at Maze, if they wait on the tables outside or if they're bringing the food out. I don't know, Doug.
They do wait on
Okay.
the tables.
They do. Bernie says they do.
Okay.
But nobody has an alcohol permit to serve alcohol on our sidewalk, so.
Yeah, my concern at this point only is that if there's not a policy and they're being used, and then we'll say other citizens come along or tourists and sit at a table, are they going to be asked to leave because they're, they belong to us and they're on our property? So are they solely the use of the restaurants, or are they?
Well, I think like what I just said earlier, that, they're no different than a park bench. We're putting them on a town sidewalk.
Okay.
Anyone could sit there. It's a public picnic table.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I hope. That's what I want to see, is that it's there for all,
Right.
not just for restaurants. And I just worry that there's a number of restaurants that could do it, and our sidewalks could get filled up.
Well, if we're putting the tables out, anyone else would have to get a permit to put a table out in front of their building. If we're doing them like a park bench, in that area where, the sidewalk's 3 square wide, it's only temporary. And, when things lighten up, we can pull them back.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. How about Mr. Wyman?
Marvin.
Mr. Giles?
Yeah, I have something I'd like to bring up. I think it's appropriate to recognize the huge issue that's happening in our country right now and how it affects Brandon. I'm looking at 2 emails in front of me. One from the ACLU that reminds us that systemic racism exists in Vermont too. And the important thing to remember about systemic racism is that, perfectly good people can be stuck in a system that is sometimes unjust. And so it's not a matter of saying that we have bad people in Vermont, but it's a matter of saying that systemic racism has been around in our country for a long time. And the other email that I'm looking at is from the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, VLCT, Maura Carroll, that I think you all got, but I just want to enter into the record here for the benefit of all of us, is that, she points out, Maura Carroll, that, Governor Scott observes that we really need to, take action here and make changes. And the other point that Maura makes is that, it makes sense to educate ourselves on the history of racism in our country so we really understand the depth of the problem. And the point she makes is that silence is neither an option nor a strategy. And I think that the reason I'm bringing it up here is not just to kind of talk at you all, but to suggest that it makes sense in Brandon for us to search out anywhere where we might have a participation in this unjust system. And I know that I'm looking in my own life trying to figure out any possible way that I might be contributing to the problem. And I think it's probably fair to say that we all want to be part of the solution. And so I hope we can work in Brandon to find ways that our community can make sure that we don't have systemic racism.
Thank you, Mr. Giles. It's well taken. That was the board. Are there any members of the public with public comment tonight? This would be any items that are not on the agenda later in the meeting.
So, Seth, may I speak?
Yeah, Representative Shaw, thanks.
Thanks. Just a quick update from Montpelier. We did pass out of the House, well, it's going out of the House probably tomorrow, final vote, a quarter-year budget. That's very austere. Based on last year's budget, it's about 25% of the budget. It's a 3-month budget until we can understand what's happening with the COVID money coming from the feds and also understand what our revenue projections are and our actual and are. So we're really pretty much up in the air right now on budgeting. I will say it's a very austere budget, and the transportation budget, 60% of that budget is in that budget. So your town funds are funded at last year's level on class 2, 3 roads and structures, grants, those type of things, so water quality stuff that's going on. They're level funded to last year's levels. So for this year, you're okay. I would caution you to be very careful about depending on state revenues, and in your next fiscal year. We have no idea what's happening. We do know that we're taking a huge hit in the Ed Fund. We're about $150 million in the hole on the Ed Fund this upcoming year. Taking some steps to fill that hole, but we've used all of our reserves. I suspect we'll be using all of our reserves in the general fund budget to stay afloat. So just a precautionary word to the towns that I've been telling you, and I told Pittsford the other night, and I will tell Sudbury, be careful where you go, because there's no surety on any state funding anywhere upcoming. So, and we've got a big chunk coming in from the federal government. However, there are a lot of strings attached to that money, and we don't know where we're going with that. We're still trying to figure that out. So just a piece of austerity, an austerity message from Montpelier.
Butch, I have one question on the structures grants, the ones that we
Sure.
did that were due, in March or whatever. Are
Yeah.
they still going to move forward? I haven't heard anything from anybody
So
since January.
So those grants that you applied for in March are in the 20 budget. So the 20 budget was fully funded. We did a budget adjustment a few weeks ago to bring that budget into line without making any cuts. That's where we used all of our reserves, was to balance that the 20 budget. So,
okay, so that one's happening then?
Pardon me?
That one's going to happen?
Yeah, the 20 budget is still okay, but nothing, as you know, Dave, nothing's a guarantee right now from Montpelier. I suspect your structures grants will be okay, and that's the program where we're typically $175,000 annual grant. Yeah,
That's the one.
I suspect that's going to be okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Butch, for
Okay,
helping
sure.
us understand the town impact going forward. That's great. Other public comment tonight?
Can I ask Butch a question? This is Sue Gage.
Go ahead, Sue Gage.
So Butch, do they have any idea where the education tax rate's gonna fall, or is that still really way up in the air?
No, we actually passed out the yield bill, Sue, last week, and let me dig it out right here. Basically, it appears if it holds in the Senate, and we don't know for sure it's going to hold there because there's other information coming in, but there's going to be a, wish you'd asked me that 15 minutes ago before I filed everything, but.
Well, you can call me.
Yeah, but there's a 4-cent increase in the Ed Fund for non-residential, and the same type of increase transfers down to residential type taxes. Here it is now, and so yeah, we do know that, but what we've done there again in the Ed Fund is we've used up all of our reserves, and I have a $156 million hole in the Ed Fund. So, and we've authorized the Ed Fund for 1 year to run at a deficit, and we've done some legislation to allow the treasurer to try to fill that deficit through other areas. But Sue, the average homestead rate that we passed in that bill is $1.54, and the average non-residential rate is $1.628. So it's up about 4 cents.
Thank you.
And we started at 22 cents, so we got it down to 4, but we did some serious work within the funds in the Ed Fund to get it there. And like I say, we have a $156 million hole in the Ed Fund right now.
Oh, all right.
Hang on. Hang on. And we changed a couple of years ago, Sue, to to not all property tax, and we funded some of the, big portion of the ed fund with the meals and rooms tax. And of course, everybody knows what's happened to that tax. It's the receipts from that tax have tanked, so that's part of the problem.
Thanks, Butch. Appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you to Sue and Butch. Other public comment tonight? Did Barry Varian have a hand up a minute ago? Yeah, go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, just a piece of information more than anything else. The school district's fiscal year is ending next month, July, and we're anticipating an $825,000 surplus from this year's budget. Of that 825, 450 has been approved by the board for the purchase of Chromebooks with internet hotspots to be dispositioned to the kids, and that corrects a problem I talked about once before, where there was 24% of the kids without internet access during remote learning. It also provides a level of control on usage and internet access from the school. Now, that 450,000 may qualify for CARES funding, and if it does, I mean, it sounds like it's in the category that may qualify because of the remote learning aspect of it. And if it does, then the total 825,000 would be surplus rolling into next year to benefit the tax base. If not, then it would just be the 375,000 that we're not going to appropriate for any other use, and it'll roll forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's this exciting news, and you explained it well. Thank you very much.
So I have a comment for Barry, Seth,
Yes.
if I may.
Sure.
So hi, Barry. Thank you for that. And right now, the committees are trying to understand what we're going to do with the CARES Act money. And the Ed Committee has been allocated about $5 million extra in authorizations in the CARES Act. So I hope that the Superintendent's Association or whomever you're talking to is lobbying for those funds because it's a real sharp pit right now for that money, as you may know. But thank you for the austerity budget. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you both. Further public comment. Anyone else, anything they'd like to bring up before the board tonight?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you and I can echo you.
Okay, well, this is Brent Bueller. I just wanted to sign in.
Thanks, Brent.
Thank you.
Did you have a comment or question or just?
No, I'm a phone number on the.
Okay, yes, I see. Okay, thank you. Thanks for being here, Brent.
Thank you.
Okay, last call for public comment in a structured way, but again, there's always public comment time available on any agenda item. Anything else? If not, let's go on. We have a broadband grant support letter at item 5, which looks like I may have written it, but in fact I did not. So thanks to whoever drafted that, perhaps the economic development officer did it. Dave or Bill, did you want to introduce this to the board?
This is Bill Moore. This is just a part we touched upon this back in March and April, and working with Stephanie and Butch, really trying to get after the Broadband Innovations Grant, and strongly encouraging and getting a really great partner in Amanda O'Connor at the Rutland Regional Planning Commission. They are applying for this grant, and this is our piece in being a part of our support for the grant. I know that our neighbors to the south, the select board from Pittsford, signed a similar letter that was written in exactly the same manner, just signed differently, and they approved the signing. Their chair of their select board signed it. So this is just our part in getting into this Broadband Innovation Grant. This is a feasibility study about expanding broadband in northern Rutland County and southern Acton County, if you go as well.
That is great, Bill. Mr. Giles has a question or comment?
Yeah, just while we're talking about broadband, I'm really curious to get an update on the broadband in the town offices there. Is that up and running, and have you used it?
So yes, it is up and running. There was definitely some fits and starts. It's up right now, and it's in our closet, which, much to our dismay, it doesn't provide a ton of range in our closet. We're working our phone, BTS, John Fitzgerald from BTS, who's our in-house phone person, is going to be moving getting us some longer jumpers, and we're going to mount it to the front of the town offices on Center Street. So the modem, the router will be outside. It's a weatherproof router, and it'll be outside, and I expect it will have greater range. But right now it's up, it's open and running. It's Brandon free. I was just testing in here, and download speeds were 333 meg, and upload was like 250. So it's very fast. It can support a lot of people. So at the point at which people can connect to it from the street, and again, I anticipate that when John moves to the front, we should have more in that way. And we're actually getting another through the Rob Fish at the state. We're going to get another wireless router. We're going to have to use our own internet service for that one. We're going to put on the side of the town hall to face the new parking lot we'll have behind the mobile station. And that's a nice weatherproof router, and started sort of a jumping off point about expanding broadband in the downtown using these routers as repeaters for our signal. And the guy that's going to be installing the router on the town hall is really knowledgeable about creating these networks. Of anybody I've talked to, he's definitely been the most energetic and excitable. I think he can explain to us a particular proposal of what it would cost. I mean, at least we can just see a cost of what it'd be like to have more, have faster internet using these fiber lines and repeaters with the routers.
So is there a password for the system that you have now?
No.
And once it's mounted outside the building, what's the intended range?
So everything that I've seen online, I mean, it could be 250 meters. I mean, it's a pretty robust, $1,700 router. Aruba 375, if you want to look it up. And I mean,
Mostly line of sight, probably.
Mostly line of sight. Well, clearly mostly line of sight. If we're got it in the closet here, and downstairs I can barely see it. I'm like, wait a second, like this makes no sense. So that's why I put it to the front of the building.
Okay, thanks for the update.
What's the pleasure of the board on this letter? You want to authorize me to sign this, or do you have some further discussion to make?
Yeah, I move we authorize you to sign it.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Giles and a second, where? Mr. Wyman?
Bailey.
No, Mr. Bailey. Second by Mr. Bailey. Any discussion on signing this letter to participate in supporting the Broadband Innovation Grant? Any public comment? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I didn't hear a lot. I heard Giles, Wyman,
Yeah, Tracy was.
Bailey,
Yes.
Coolidge,
Yes.
unanimous. Item 6, Green Up Day budget discussion. I think that's Mr. Atherton.
So yeah, with all of the recent changes in recycling world, and as we've dealt with over the last year, we got a letter right before Green Up Day that Rutland County Solid Waste does not want us to take any tires in, which, as we know, we have. I think the town so far, since the year started, picked up about 200 tires on the side of the road. It's been crazy this year. Of course, a bunch of tires were left next to the dumpster that said no tires. I think like 40. I think we had 40 of them. So, there's a cost associated with getting rid of tires, and obviously we'd rather not see them on the side of the road. So this is just something I kind of want to get in your guys, bug in your ear for when we go to budget in the fall, that we should really look at putting some money aside for things like this, because it has gotten worse, and they're gonna leave them there anyway. You know, and it obviously it costs our transfer station when we bring them to Tracy. They've got to pay to get rid of them too. So, just wanted to throw that in there, that a lot of this stuff that used to be a little bit cheaper and some free is just not that way anymore. So, that's really it.
For that, that's kind of an eye-opening number, jaw-dropping, whatever the adjective you want to choose is 200 tires being collected.
We picked up,
Brandon.
I think that the week, like a couple days before Green Up Day, we got a call that on Steinberg Road on the, the closed end or the not drivable end, that there were 50 plus tires down there. So, we sent one of our guys down to get them. But that and Steinberg or Carver Street are bad all the time, down by Willie's Bow. And it's a frustrating thing because a lot of this is on private property, and but it's gotten out of hand. And we did have a case here not too long ago where someone had found a bunch of garbage, I believe, on Carver Street, and actually brought some of the trash to PD, and they were able to locate some names in there. So, stuff like that really can track down the folks that are doing it. But tires are kind of a mystery on how, who brings them. So.
I was going to bring that up about being on the private property. I've had, and I guess what bothers me is that I've had some on my property that I've had dropped occasionally, and I take care of them. I don't feel as though the town needs to be responsible for taking care of all the private property. I know that it's a problem, but I don't know how to address it.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but as you know, and we're just seeing more. I mean, I get more calls than ever about garbage and trash being actually on property that people think the town owns. That's happened a lot lately. And I don't know what the right answer is to it, but I do know that we shouldn't leave it there if it's just sitting there forever. And people are taking advantage of Green Up Day and throwing all this stuff out anyway. So eventually, it ends up becoming the town's, regardless.
And the other thing I want to touch on Green Up Day is that when we did throw the tires in, you definitely can tell that there was, out of that 40, I'm going to say there was probably 20 to 25 that came out of people's garages. They did not come off the side of the road. You can definitely tell tires that have come off the side of the road and something that come out of somebody's garage or shed. Or we also had some mattresses that were the same thing. I think we had 5 mattresses. One of them legitimately was probably outside the road. That was so heavy that we didn't know if the 2 of us were going to get it on. So it's definitely something that needs to be addressed for another year, I would think. It's just an expense that went to the town that doesn't really need to go to the town.
Yeah, I agree that it's a problem and that we can't possibly, leave things out there because someone's got to take care of it. It seems like we need to make a concerted effort through the Brandon Reporter to raise people's awareness of the responsibility we all have to take care of our own stuff. I mean, I can't imagine how else we're going to try to enforce this. I mean, I love the idea of being able to find some trace in the trash of, knowing who leaves stuff. But I think we would all agree that with tires, that's tough.
I think an unfortunate byproduct of Green Up Day is now, after 50 years of this, people have learned that something that's going to have a big fee, if they just wait till Green Up Day, they can throw it beside the road and it'll get picked up and taken for free. And that's where all the tires and crap come from. I don't know how you break that cycle. It's tough to have to work that into our budget, but I believe that Dave's right that we may have to start thinking about a number to put in there to be prepared for this.
All right, thank you for the information and the discussion. I do want to thank all the people who spent in May picking up all the refuse on the side of the road. I want to thank Jim Leary, my neighbor, for chairing Green Up Day in Brandon for a number of years, who pitches in to try to make the town a better looking place and a cleaner place and a healthier place. But it is that that there's some folks that take advantage of it. So thanks, Dave, for bringing it up, putting it on the board's radar for budget season.
Sure. Another person that we should thank too is Helen Anderson. She's been picking up stuff for a month, and and she was out even after Green Up Day in front of Walgreens picking up garbage, and she'd leave it on our back porch here, and we take care of it. But I mean, she's been all over, not just Park Street, she's been everywhere else. So she really does a lot of it for us. So
yeah, there are a lot of people just in their general walking around town. A lot of people have a habit of picking up small things and taking them with them.
Very much appreciated.
To be commended, exactly. Item 7, resolution.
Seth, your audio's cutting in and out. Could you say that again?
Item 7 is consider adoption of a VLCT resolution. So we have, this was in a memo to Mr. Atherton, and we've all got it in front of us. What's the pleasure of the board? In the absence of anyone jumping on this, I don't find this to be anything that will be effective or urgent or necessarily presents an accurate picture for what's happening in Brandon. And I would propose the board take no action at this time.
I would agree.
So there's a motion by me and a second by Mr. Giles to take no action on the proposed VLCT resolution. Any discussion? If not, ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Item 8, renewal of note and loan modification. Is the town treasurer available to talk about this a little bit?
I am, but I don't have it in front of me, unfortunately. But so that's just extending the grant anticipation note that we got for Route 7 through the end of the project, which is a little longer than we thought. We thought we'd be done by June 30th. And we're not quite done yet. So it's just rolling over that same grant through the end of December.
If I can summarize this, the way I understand it is it's the $2 million loan at 2.49%, and we use it line of credit style. Sue, is that right? For cash flow until while we're paying out stuff for segment 6, but before we've been reimbursed by VTrans?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And we have.
I did have one question.
We're out 750,000 right now on it.
Yeah, that was my question. What's that? Is that just happens to be like the current amount that we're waiting for reimbursement?
That is the amount we went out for that very first check we paid to Casella way back when, basically. It's we've sort of carried that forward.
Okay, great.
So the state is extra behind in reimbursing us?
No, they're pretty quick now. Good rapport with them, so we got reimbursed quickly. It's just we have a lot of projects that we're getting reimbursement for right now, so it's there's a lot going on.
They did reduce the interest rate, but I had to prod them for that, I will add, which didn't make me really happy. I thought they should have offered that from the start, but
Well, thank you for the prodding of them, because a half a point on a loan of that size is significant money.
Yeah.
It's a good savings for the town. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to renew the note for the
Thanks.
length of time that Sue was suggested.
Second.
Second from Mr. Giles. Is there discussion? All in favor of renewing the loan and note on the terms that we've discussed, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The ayes have it.
One follow-up question. So this amount of money is, you say, been riding outstanding for some time? I mean, can't we pay that off with our money and only dip in when we need to use money?
Well, once we pay it back, we can't access it again. That's why we have not done that. I'm a little worried about cash flow personally, but we have a lot going on. I can look into it, but we won't be able to access. Once we've accessed the money and we pay it back, that's off the table. But we could.
I thought it was a revolving line of credit.
Oh, it doesn't revolve, no.
Okay.
I won't say unique, but it's not a common lending product for what we might be familiar with, I think.
So could you explain that a little further? I mean, if this is a line of credit and we're using 750,000 and it looks like we have up to, what was it, 2 million? Is that what the total amount is for?
Right, capped at 2 million.
And so you're saying we can keep taking stuff out, but the moment we start paying anything back, we stop being able to take stuff out?
Correct.
Oh.
So I don't know if it's unique to grant anticipation notes or unique to municipalities. I'm really not sure. But yeah, that's it doesn't revolve in and out.
Does that answer the questions from the board?
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that kind of note, so I'm very surprised that they're having us maintain a $700,000 balance in that expense. I understand the situation we're in now, but that's not a normal line of credit.
No.
No, but I don't know if it's because I'm not sure. Again, it may be unique to municipalities. It may be unique to that type of loan, which is considered a grant anticipation note. It's not like a tax anticipation note where I believe you can access the money and then pay it back and re-access it. I could look into it though, let you know.
Yeah, I'd be very interested in that, Sue. Thank you.
I'll do that.
Okay, thanks everyone. Item 9, orders for the coming year for fuel and so forth. And Mr. Atherton's given us some cover memos with recommendations. Is there any objection to taking those 4 as a consent agenda and approving them all? We want to talk about them separately. We can do it either way. Any objection to taking them all 4 together?
No.
If
No.
not, is there a motion to accept Mr. Atherton's memo with recommendations for purchase of diesel fuel, heating fuel, gasoline, and propane, as well as the warrants for general operations and Route 7 construction?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wyman. Is there a second?
Yes.
Second from Mr. Coolidge. Thank you. Is there any discussion or question? Not heard. Consent agenda. All in favor of approval of item 9 in full, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. That's unanimous. Great. So we do have an executive session later, but what we usually do is what we'll do tonight. We'll recess the select board at 7:50 and we'll convene. I think we've got Riker here, so let's do the Board of Liquor Control commissioners if there's no objection to doing that first. So at 7:51, I'll call the Brandon Board of Liquor Control Commissioners to order. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Wyman moves, Mr. Giles seconds. Any change to be made? None heard. All in favor of the agenda as it's presented, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Item 2, approval of the Liquor Commissioners minutes of May 11th.
Make a motion to approve.
Thanks, Mr. Coolidge. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Wyman. Any errors or omissions in the minutes as submitted? None heard. All in favor of approval as submitted, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. It's unanimous. Item 3, approval of special event permits for Red Clover Company for an event to be held in Green Park on Saturday, June 13th, and another one on Saturday, June 20th. Is there a motion from the board?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Coolidge moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Bailey. Is there any discussion? Riker, I see your phone's lit up. Did you have anything you wanted to offer us?
No, I thought I'd just be here in case anyone had any questions I could provide further detail on.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Riker from Red Clover? If not, all in favor of approval of the special event permits, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any opposed, say no. That's unanimous. The ayes have it. Item 4,
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Coolidge moves to adjourn. Is
Second.
there a second? Second from Mr. Wyman. It's not debatable. All in favor, ready to vote, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, say no. That's unanimous. We'll have, so that's adjourned at 7:53, and at 7:53, I'll call the Brandon Board of Sewer Commissioners to order. Is there a motion on the agenda?
So moved.
Who was that, Mr. Bailey?
Bailey, yeah.
Thank you, Bailey.
Second.
Second from Wyman. Any changes to be made? If not, all in favor of the agenda as it's presented, say aye.
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 None more opposed. That's unanimous. Item 2, the approval of the minutes of May 25th.
Make a motion to
Is there a
approve.
motion? Thanks, Mr. Coolidge moves to approve. Is there a second?
Yeah.
Second from Mr. Wyman. Any errors as presented? There are not. All in favor of the minutes of adoption of the minutes, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Item 3, purchase order wastewater treatment plant. Mr. Atherton, anything to say? You've got a nice memo on the top here.
These are the same ones we do every year. Steve gets the companies together. We get the bids. We do like the two companies we've been using because if we run out, they can supply us quickly. Where when we've had some of the other companies that come in low or whatever, and then they can't supply us. So, and some of these, like, you know, Allen's closer and Holland's good. And one thing, we're hoping to have sludge hauling bids in, but we're still waiting on a couple companies, so we decided to hold off till the next meeting to do that. So, and this
Thank
is
you
these are
very
chemicals for
Dave,
the wastewater. So,
chemicals for the wastewater. Dave, could you please convey from the board to Steve Chica our thanks for the research that he does to get all these bids every year?
absolutely.
What's the pleasure of the board on the purchase orders?
Can we do all three together?
Is there any objection to doing all three together?
Nope.
There is not. Go ahead.
Make a motion to approve, all three purchase orders.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Wyman, second.
Second.
Who's that, Mr. Coolidge? Mr. Bailey. Second by Mr. Bailey to approve the 3 purchase orders for the chemicals required at the wastewater treatment plant. Any discussion? None heard. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that's unanimous.
Seth, before you close
Mr.
it,
Giles, you bet. Yeah.
yeah, I just thought, since this is a sewer commission, I wonder if Dave has any update on the water meters. At some point, we were going to have some kind of a timeline about how they were going about fixing them and getting them checked. And
So, actually, yes. Ray sent a letter out today for the Prudential Board and myself to review that he was going to send. I think I sent it to Seth, but I can certainly send it to all you guys. It's really good. I mean, it just says what they're going to do and that, they'll have a plumber in-house and they'll have folks from the fire department to go with whatever meters they have. I think it was 287 was the number. So
that's great.
They're getting ready to send that letter out. So
yeah, I'd love to see that if you have.
yeah, I'll when we're done
just
here.
sent
You just sent it? Thank you, Seth.
I just sent, I apologize. I got it from Dave, but it was after I stopped computer work for the afternoon.
It was late in the day, so yeah. So you should have it, and they're moving forward with it. So
Yes.
Thank you, Dave, for following up on that between meetings. Anything else for the sewer commissioners? Anybody know where my sewer outlet pipe is? Anybody know?
I've got one thing to add. We had an issue at the Newton Road pump station this weekend. We think it might be during the storm when the power was flipping off and on. One of the pumps was not running. Tim went up. He had to replace a fuse in it, but that one is probably in just as bad a condition as the Champlain Street pump station was before we fixed it. So that might be something we're going to look at moving forward with, at least scoping it to see where we're at to replace it. And unfortunately, the houses that we bought for the property buyout are on the other side of the pump station, and they had septic, so we still have to have that there. So more to come on that. I'm not sure how soon. We got a guy coming up to look at the electric panel and everything this week, and we'll get a better guess there. So I'm sure it won't be cheap, but it needs to be fixed.
Okay. Thank you, Dave.
Sure.
Anything else before this board? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's not debatable. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Sewer commissioners are adjourned at 7:59.